you like how true God's word is. Ephesians 1, verse 13. It says, in him you also, after listening to the message of the truth, which is the gospel of your salvation, having also believed, you were still in him in the Holy Spirit, with the Holy Spirit of promise. So after listening to what? The gospel. And that's what James is saying. Listen, hey, all this is going on, and you're to show people the truth of the gospel. You're to show them the sovereignty of God through how you live your life as a believer. And I know we've kind of talked about that and hit on that from time to time over the past few weeks, that in tests and trials, that you enduring them, you showing God at work in your life through those things, reveals God to other people. Yes, you still got to share the gospel with them, but how you handle those tests and those trials. When you think about it, like these, I know when you and I think tests and trials, we think like sickness, a death in the family, we think like a difficult week or a difficult person giving us a hard time. But these people that James is writing to are facing a lot more tests and trials than, well, somebody has a cold, or they have a cold and they got to get through a test this week and they have a lot of things on their schedule. It's, hey, you could be put to death because of what you believe in, or at least you're going to get beaten for it and probably persecuted beyond that. You might even lose everything that you own, be driven out of town or your house or whatever. So they're facing like serious persecution, serious tests and trials. And when you put that into perspective and you begin to think, okay, James is telling them to rejoice in these things, to be happy in these things, to endure them, not to be deceived, and to understand that this is a good gift from God, that begins to put a whole new perspective on it. And he's telling them, listen, you do these things because of the word of truth that you've heard, because God brought you forth by the word of his truth, that you could be the kind of first fruits among his creatures. And why do you need to show this proof? Why do you need to show the sovereignty of God? What is first fruits? When you think of that term first fruits, what do you know about first fruits in the Bible? Where is that originally mentioned? Old Testament, New Testament? Old Testament. What? Cain and Abel is a perfect example, probably the first example that I can think of off the top of my head of. They brought the first fruit, or were supposed to bring the first fruits of what they had. Why was this first fruits thing required? Why was it something that God commanded? Supposed to give him your best. The other interesting thing is, if you think about it, it's the first fruits. It's the first part of harvest. And they're taking it and they're giving it to God. They're giving the very first piece of the harvest that they've got. And you think about it, these people are farmers. What is their life dependent upon? It's dependent upon this harvest that they're bringing to God. You know what they're really doing? They're stepping out in faith and saying, God, you commanded me to give this to you, trusting that you'll provide another harvest after this. This first fruits, I'm giving it to you because I'm trusting that you're going to keep your word and you're going to take care of me. You're going to meet my needs. Yes, it was part of worship, and yes, it was, an offering to God, but it was also a step in faith, just like when, God lays on your heart maybe to give more than just your 10% or to give more than your tithe, and to take a step out on faith and to give this to him and to trust him that he'll provide all that you need. Like, same concept. That's what this whole first fruits thing is. And it was commanded back in the Old Testament, if you look in Exodus and Proverbs. But we are also to be that first fruits. And what that means is that we are to present ourselves as that first part of the harvest. What James is telling these people is, listen, you're showing yourself to the world that I am who God saved me to be. I'm what he was talking about when that new birth happens. I am that. That salvation that he offers, I can exemplify that in my life. I'm showing you my God is going to keep his word. If he says he's going to save you, if you're faithful to confess your sins, that he'll save you, I'm a first fruit. I'm an example of that. And you think about that. Like that's showing here, especially in this context, that's showing an unbelieving world that surrounded them that God is who he said he is. You think about, a lot of people despise the Jews. They saw them as, these crazy people that disobey their God. And in other people's eyes, their God was the same as all the other gods that people served, bowed down, worshiped to, and had failed them. But what God called them out to be was an example to show them, I'm the one true God. There is no one else. There is no one else who can take care of his people. All these other people, if you go and you read back in Isaiah and Jeremiah and some of the prophets, as they begin to prophesy the impending doom coming on Jerusalem, he begins to talk about, hey, listen, doom's coming your way, destruction's coming your way, because you turned and served something that I told you not to serve. You turned and served an image that was created by man's hands, carved out of wood, covered in gold or silver. You turned to serve those things that depend on somebody to stand them up. They depend on somebody to move them when they need to be moved. And God's saying, listen, I don't need somebody to stand me up. I don't need somebody to carve me or shape me out into some form. He's saying, I'm God. I'm the one true God. And that's what James is pointing out to them. Listen, we failed in times past. If you're to be the first fruits, God's purpose for you as a believer is to be an example of his promise that if you'll put your faith and trust in me, you don't have to worry about anything, and I'll take care of you. I will sustain you. I will provide for you. I will save you. I will be your God. I won't leave you nor forsake you. And then when we begin to put that into perspective and you begin to think about that, like, that's a huge challenge for these people. That's even a huge challenge for you and I. Like, that's God's word applying to us. Like, even though this is, 1,000, 2,000, whatever years down the road, you and I are still a kind of first fruits. Why? Because we are a picture of what is to come. We are a picture of, we are looking and hoping and looking to the day of our redemption, the day that we see our God face to face. We are to live our lives in expectation of that. And we're to show other people that expectation, to share that with them. We are that example. We are that first fruit. Like showing people our lives and how it's changed should be an example of what God has done, or what God can do in an unbeliever's life as well. So you got to think about that, and I know there are countless testimonies of people that you can look at and you say, man, I can see a change in that person. I can see how God's working in their life. And even after they're saved, you should continue to see changes as they progress and they try to grow in their sanctification. Like, it shouldn't be a thing, well, man, I saw this person used to be like this. Now they're saved. I see a distinctive difference. And then when you see them, on down the road, well, they're still the same as when they first got saved. It should be a thing where, man, they were strong here, and I saw a radical difference at that point of salvation. But man, now to see what God's doing in their life and how they're growing in the Lord, they're not stagnant. They're not still a spiritual baby. They're not still, struggling with the same old things that they used to struggle. God has changed them, and God is continually changing them. Like, I hope that's what you see in me. Like, I hope that's what you see in me as not only as your youth pastor, but this is as a fellow believer. You think about Brad and Carrie, and me and Mike were talking about this. What a perfect example that is of, and I know Brad wouldn't say this probably to you, but it's a perfect example of seeing how God works to change people in their lives. Like, y'all know Brad's crazy. Like, Brad is out there. But it's been so amazing from the time that I've been here to see how God's been at work in Brad's life. And then for Brad and Carrie, Brad is, I couldn't ask for a better person to help me in ministry. I couldn't ask for a better person or a better example for you as middle school students to lead you guys to work with you. I couldn't ask for somebody who loves you more and cares about you learning God's word more, than Brad. But to see Brad give up those things, him and Carrie, and to go ahead and to say, you know what, God, we're putting all this on the line because here's what's changing in our lives. Here's where you're calling us. Here's where you're growing us in our faith. We're going to step out on faith. We're going to trust you to sell our house, to meet our needs, and to get us on the mission field. That's an incredible example of how God is continually working in someone's life, even though they're a believer. And yes, they've been radically changed from who they used to be. Brad will share his testimony that, he's completely different from who he used to be. But even from that point of salvation to where he is now, you can look and you can see God constantly working in his life, teaching him, growing him into what he wants him to be and serving him. And just to kind of give you a really old example, how many of you know who Augustine is? That's what I figured. Augustine's a really old theologian, but I read a quote about him in